I think keeping it in builds resent and damages unity. Mm-hmm. It creates division. We think it's fixing it because I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm a man. I'm going to stomach it and I'm going to push through. Yeah. Until the marriage is gone.
Yeah.
Until the partnership dissolves. And you wish you could go back and have just said some things to work through stuff together. You got to do that now. Welcome to Courageous Stewards, the podcast where legacy meets leadership.
We believe stewardship isn't just about managing resources. It's about multiplying impact, honoring purpose, and building with eternity in mind. Each week, we dive into business-focused discussions on real estate investing on a foundation of faith and family.
We have a desire to inspire listeners with a heart to reclaim their time, talents, and treasures for something greater. Whether you're growing your portfolio, leading a business, or a family, we need to become the best version of ourselves.
This is your space to gain wisdom, walk in courage, and steward what matters most.
Let's build what lasts. Let's lead with love.
Let's become courageous stewards.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Courageous Stewards podcast. I'm Sean Skyver.
And I'm Jake Tracy.
And today we're going to talk about burnout, what it actually is, and how you can prevent yourself from getting too far into it. And then how to make sure you're taking steps to take care of the real issue, the root issue, and not just the symptoms of burnout. Jake, you've experienced this before. I'm experiencing it right now, which is part of the reason we're having this episode today is I reached a point here very recently where I felt like I was being pulled in so many directions with the short-term rentals, storage, the long-term units, just paying bills. I do all my small stuff, so issues. I serve on the parking team at church. I'm trying hard to be a good partner in our business. And so it became this thing where I felt like I was doing too much, so much, all the time, that I reached a point where I was kind of wanting to let go of some things and stop doing some things. And I know now that's not really the issue, and that's not the solution either to the issue. And I know you felt this before.
Yeah, I have. I think folks really need to understand that burnout is not a weakness. It's not a failure. It's really a warning light. It's something that you need to recognize, hopefully early enough on that it doesn't become a significant issue down the road, because it can lead to a point where you just want to quit everything, and quitting is not the answer to the problem.
Right.
And so if you can recognize how to put certain activities in place in your own life, or lack thereof,
right,
less activity in some areas, it really can help you to avoid burnout.
Yeah.
Everybody has moments of being tired, being exhausted, feeling like, geez, that was a insane week. I'm glad that one's over. I'm ready to get some rest over the weekend, that kind of thing. That prolonged over a really long period of time can lead to what turns into, I just want to quit everything.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to try to avoid. You want to get away from that.
You can have too much of the tired. There's nothing wrong with losing a night of sleep or being a little tired the next day and pushing through it like most people do. But like you were saying, you get to a point where it becomes structural to what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do. And so we push through tired until, like you said, it becomes the other one.
Yeah.
And so there's just this, you have to recognize that burnout is like a chronic depletion.
That's what I was going to say.
It's been going so long, so much that it's a chronic depletion, and we all want to rush out and try to fix it with a weekend or an overnight getaway, and we think that we're good. And you may even feel better and come back, but if you dive back into it without really, it's a trickle. You've got to keep serving that part of you, whatever that is, to recharge. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to like how it shows up in business, what does that look like?
You know, I think really they kind of bleed over. I think what it really comes down to is going too many directions all at the same time. I feel like narrowing your focus down to being just a few things. The saying goes, if you try to do everything, you're never going to be great at anything.
Yeah.
And I see burnout as trying to do everything yourself for a long period of time, not allowing others to maybe necessarily pour into your life and encourage you and help you. You know, a lot of times in our culture, when somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'd like to help you with something, the natural reaction is to say, no, don't worry about that. I don't want to take up your time. I don't want to be a burden to you. I'll take care of it. It's okay. I thank you, but no, don't worry about that. And really the proper reaction, in my opinion, is they're asking you to help you because they want to help you.
Okay,
so allow them to.
I'll remember that, Jake.
Yes, I do that with you a lot.
You do. You're always reaching out to help when I'm feeling a little bit overloaded, and it's like I'm always telling you, like, I'm good right now. I'm good. I'll get through it. And
that is most humans'
I don't want to burden you.
reaction,
Yeah, I don't want to burden
right?
you with it.
It's not just you. It's everybody.
Most people.
It's the mentality of, it's kind of the American way these days. It's like, no, I don't need anybody else's help. I can do this myself, and I'm going to continue to do it. You just get to a point where you can't do it anymore, and that's what creates burnout.
Yeah. So what are those, like, we're looking, there's symptoms that start to show up. And I think you wanted to touch on that. What do those look like when they start to come up?
Yeah, I pulled out 4 symptoms that I think are key to hone in on a little bit. And those 4 are going to be irritability, loss of vision, dread of the tasks that you're performing daily, and then numb decision making.
Yeah.
So irritability, I think, we kind of get into like a pattern of doing what we're doing and then getting frustrated with those around us or angry with the thing that we're doing and not really realizing that we're even doing that. Maybe after we get frustrated, we look back and go, wait a minute, why was I frustrated about that?
And it's unfortunate.
And I took it out on somebody that I shouldn't have.
That's the worst part of it. Like when I was irritable, even in this recent season here, it was manifesting at my house with my family. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
It's all this other stuff, all of this business, nothing to do with them. And I was getting irritable at home.
Yep.
And that's who receives some of that. And it's just like, how do we guard ourselves from that irritability and misdirection of it?
You're not the only one.
It's hard.
Yeah, that's happened in my family over the past couple of decades. There have been several seasons where I end up taking things out on my wife that it's not her fault. It's not her problem.
My wife asked me when I was cooking the other day if I was okay or needed help. I didn't even respond. I just sat there and looked at it, and I didn't even say anything.
Yeah.
And that's very unusual in my house. My boys see my example of optimism and love, and just like I'm high energy usually.
Sure.
So they were both over there at that table very uncomfortable, and then Brett's like, Dad, are you okay? And then he calls me out, which is good because I need that sometimes. He's like, your wife just asked you a question. And I turned around and I was like, you're right. And so I acknowledged and just told her I'm just out of sorts right now. I love this part here on numb decision making. I think for me, that's when there's an issue. And sometimes I see it, and then sometimes it takes somebody else to look and go, dude, you're off right now. It comes down to the burnout so bad, you stop caring about the very thing you're trying to build to the point that you're just going through the motions. You're present, you're going to do the thing, but there is no spark, there is no energy. It is just I'm here and I'm numb. So with like success takes stress. They just are synonymous. You can have stress not being successful, but if you are trying to build, you have to expect stress. The hard part is the success machine is so big, and doing all these things and experiencing this energy drain and this burnout is where you can find yourself in a spot where the machine you're trying to build feels like it's now trapped you. Because now how do you get off the wheel? You and I are building things. I'm trying to build a portfolio. I'm doing other things, learning a lot of stuff, and finding a variety of stresses and people. I answer to a lot of people at this point. And so it feels oftentimes like the machine's trapped you. But that's a perspective issue, because I've got to remember, like, the potential here is to be big and to have opportunity and to have success. But you have that sense almost of you're trapped. You're running on adrenaline because motivation is gone. I think people don't realize that motivation is very fleeting. So you look at it and you go, man, that's working for them. They're doing great. But there's motivation sometimes from like excitement that drives you. But when that runs out, it's almost adrenaline. You're just going to the next thing because you have to go to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's a very different emotion and a very different feeling. And running on adrenaline is not re-energizing you.
It almost turns into the one that I just pointed out, the dread of task.
Yes.
It's like you understand that the thing has to be done, but everything within you is just telling you, I do not want to do this.
Yep.
I hate doing this. You don't.
No, you
but
don't.
You're
at that moment in that season.
Yes.
It's like, I don't even want to be here right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. that actually kind of brings up an interesting story. I know this is something that you've kind of been challenged with here recently, and I have in the past several times where I got to a point where I wanted to wash my hands of everything and be done with all that had been built, all that I was being asked to steward. I was willing to just throw it away because I was so depleted and just exhausted from the process. But we had awesome guests on several weeks ago, and I noticed when you walked through the door that you were just tired. You were done. You were like kind of spaced out,
I was zoned out.
It was hard for you to kind of concentrate or focus or answer, be engaging in the conversation that was being had. And it just kind of flipped a trigger for me. I'm like, something's really wrong. Because you're not normally like that. Normally, you're pretty energetic. You're a people person. You're a people pleaser. You want to be involved in conversation and be the life of the party and that sort of thing. And so it's something that we had to sit down and talk about and come to some realizations on. This is real. We see it. I sympathize with you. I know you're going through it. We've got to talk through this and figure out what we can do to solve some of these problems for you.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Do you remember what the moment was when you knew something was really wrong?
I think there was a couple. The one was zoning out so hard at home when I'm in my place of rest that I'm mistreating the people that I love the most.
Yeah.
And the other one was I started questioning quitting some of the things that I was doing to build what I prayed for. I think what I need to reframe my mind around is, I think I texted you the other day, is I'm being stretched for success. I'm being stretched in the success.
Yeah.
I'm finding a degree of it, and now the stretching starts. This is not easy. It's not easy to do and to build and to have the things that you were trying to steward and to be able to have the opportunity to experience. There's a stretching in there, and I have to allow that. I think God is going to put you in valleys, put you in struggles, because he's trying to reframe you. He's got to work through and refine those shortcomings and those weaknesses, basically. And if you'll let him do that work and you'll stay the course and you'll stay true to what he's trying to do with you, on the other side of that is the promise, which sharpens you to become the next part of that thing that he's now doing. I heard it a lot. If you ask for the thing you want and God gives it to you, are you equipped to handle the blessing that you prayed about? Because a lot of people wouldn't be. If I give somebody who's I really want to get into investment properties, and I give them 15 doors tomorrow morning, are you equipped?
To yourself.
Well, I kind of did.
Which is a great example.
Now, it took a year. but if they got 20 doors or if they got 15 doors tomorrow morning, are they equipped? Are they ready?
No.
That. It's that kind of thing. I have to recognize that whatever this struggle is right now, is I'm going to have to go through it, let God do his work, and trust it on the other side as a promise.
I've seen several times where it almost becomes the opportunity for breakthrough. Breakthrough is on the other side of that exhaustion, that burnout that you're going through right now.
Yeah.
If you recognize it, take steps back and put things in place to counteract that burnout.
And I've been doing small things right off the rip. I've had some great conversation with my wife. You and I have talked. One thing I was doing was I was letting people, anybody call me at any hour of the day and addressing situations right now.
Yeah.
That's 100 storage units, 25 rentals. Anybody could call me at any time. Well, now I have office hours, so I have a do not disturb on my phone. You can call me, you'll leave a message, but if it's after 5 p.m. or before 8, I'm not dealing with those calls. I've now made a list of my family and friends that can call anytime. They are not on the do not disturb. But that was a great little unload where I feel a little bit better. I've been taking more time to rediscover what my interests and passions really were, which is leadership. I haven't read a leadership book in too long. I need to go back to do that. That energizes me.
Yeah.
When you see burnout or you're experiencing it, you have to remember that the roots, the things that you think are the issue, which is everything you're doing, is not really the issue. And that's what I want to dive into next, is where the burnout comes from and then how to recenter yourself. So on the outside, that burnout is going to look like, it can feel like identity confusion. We've talked about it before. I am not a real estate portfolio.
Right.
You know what I mean? I am not a real estate portfolio. I am Sean Skyver. I'm a child of God. I have a heart to be generous, to be kind. I have the gift of just people. I have a gift of relationship, leadership. I have some gifting, family. I have a lot. That is my identity. And I think we lose that sometimes. Once you lose the identity, how easy is it to feel like part of a cog in the machine?
Yeah.
You've given up the very reason God created you for a task or a thing or an identity in something that's just material.
Right.
And so I think it's important that we see that the identity is part of this, not just I'm doing too much.
Yeah, the next two that we have written down here, I can relate to a little bit more. The first one is ownership instead of stewardship. Sometimes you forget that this is not yours to begin with. You're not building it for yourself anyway. You're building it for his kingdom.
Yeah.
And he's giving you the ability to level up to a certain degree until you have the capacity to handle that. And then you will level up again until you have the capacity to handle that. He's not intentionally giving you more than you can handle so that I heard you say something the other day, which resonated with me, not because I'm suicidal, but you said suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah, right. And that's what I was kind of feeling when I was like, we should stop doing X, Y, or Z.
But it can be applied in this scenario.
Yes.
And I just thought, as you said that, it got the wheels turning. I was like, yeah. You're so right. The tendency for people is to jump to the extreme. I'm quitting everything because I'm exhausted. I don't like doing that, so I just forget it.
Yep.
I'm walking away from my marriage. I don't want anything to do with my kids. I'm quitting my job. I'm going to become a hermit. That's not what God has for you. That's not the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
You're taking this to an extreme. And I also have found that pace without purpose for me, I find myself... I tend to set a pretty fast pace, and I move through my daily tasks very quickly. You have to kind of when you're in this business. You have to be able to kind of flex and flow with things as they come. But through that process, a lot of times your pace drives you and you forget what your purpose is. And over time, you kind of just ignore that thing that God put in you as your purpose, and it just becomes about the pace. I got to get up at 5. I have 57 things to do on my list, and they have to be done by the time the sun goes down tonight. And it's like, wait a minute.
It's like people mistake moving for progress.
Yes.
It's
I
like,
do that
I'm doing
sometimes.
things. I did a lot of things today. Great. What did you really accomplish?
Right.
Well, I did this. Well, what did you really accomplish? It's that whole thing of everybody gets somewhere. You're moving, but few get there on purpose. So what's your intention? What is your purpose? Your purpose is your vision, your why, and your target. So that gives that pace direction, just like you were saying. You can keep going, but we really need the purpose, and we need to be reminded of it.
And I think sometimes that even leads to confusion, or at least seasonal confusion.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're in a season and you're just, like you said, a cog in the wheel. You're just running on a wheel and you're not like, why am I even doing this stuff? It makes no sense. And I think you actually kind of recently came to that point where you were like questioning everything.
Yeah.
And like, why am I doing any of this? This is insane. I don't want to do this anymore.
I did it on the way here this morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got 4 sheets of paper for 4 podcasts that nobody's going to watch. Well,
I hope you're wrong. I really do.
They are, but I'm excited.
Encourage somebody.
But it's like, those thoughts are real.
Yeah.
And I think people need to share that. Like, I'm excited about what we do, and I really am. And I think it's going to grow and keep getting bigger. But you have to be real with yourself. Like, we have those thoughts.
Sure.
They pop up on anything. Not even sometimes I'm wondering, like, great, I've got 20 doors or whatever I've got now, and it's like, awesome. But there are days where I'm like, what is this? What is really going on? What is really behind this? And that's the purpose. I got to go back to the why.
Yeah. So it's not really about a vacation necessarily. It's more about like a recalibration. How do we get to a place where we can recalibrate the way that we're handling our day-to-day or our mindset? How do we get there?
Yeah, I think so. For me, this one has been, I'm literally like in the process of discovering this because I reached a level of burnout recently that I don't think I've ever had. I've always had little ones where I'm just a little bit burnt up. And then I can it's real easy to just kind of steer correct and go. This one was a much bigger. So when you get to the burnout, first of all, recognize that light's on and then take steps to start countering it. Like you were saying earlier, put things in place to help. But one is don't kid yourself. Like you said, like don't make it a weekend. Don't make it a night away. That's not going to fix burnout. What you need to do is put a strategy together for intentional steps, intentional behaviors, barriers, boundaries, things that will create windows for you. You need an ongoing recovery. You need an ongoing refreshing as you go. Your tank has to be full to pour out. Stop trying to perform recovery. Build it into your actual day-to-day. We talked about it with family. If you're going to put everybody in your calendar, even your wife for date night, well, what about your time? We talk about it with finances. I always tell people, I'm like, invest in yourself first, then pay your bills. So that means take your check, put it steward, tithe, put some in savings, and then pay your bills. You're paying yourself first. Why don't we do that with our time? Our time goes to everybody else. We're burnt out and we wonder why. Did you take a break this week? When did you stop? Did you sit down and read that book outside the other day? No. Like, we're not investing in ourselves, so we have to schedule it. And we talked a little bit about returning to your why. We are building this for something so much bigger than us, bigger than me. It's bigger than my feelings and my struggles, and I've got to remember that. And then building in those real margins. So for me, one of my next steps is I'm going to bake in some calendar time for do not disturb, just Sean time. I might read a book. I might go for a walk. I'm just going to do something where I'm not looking at my computer, my phone, or answering calls. And I'm going to unplug and I'm going to recharge. And I think those are important steps you can take.
So the thing that you have dealt with is not necessarily going to be the thing that someone else deals with. So I think it's important to preface the points that you made are incredible. I would encourage folks to name what the actual thing is that's wrong first. Figure out, define, how am I losing it here?
Yeah.
What's the thing that's driving me to the point of total destruction, so to speak? And then you begin to put the pieces in place to counteract that. Yeah. And to your point, every one of those things that you just said are vital to the success of that. I would just encourage people, like, a weekend away on a vacation is not going to fix the core root of the problem. It's nice. I would encourage folks to go with their families on vacation.
Sure,
that's not what we're saying. But define what the problem actually is and then start putting routines in place to counteract those problems on an ongoing basis.
Yes, it's a good point, because if you're too general or vague about what the issue is, you'll make it everything. The other day, what I realized was I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this podcast anymore, or if I can do this thing anymore, or if this is really making sense. I had those thoughts. But then what I was starting to look at is, like you said, I started studying really what was going on. Where is the issue? And it was so funny because I found that I get frustrated about certain tasks. I got a stack of bills in my inbox, and I'm sitting there writing checks, going online, paying. What I found was that is like literally irritating. Like, I'm frustrated. I'm like mad about paying bills. I'm like, oh, this has to go. Somehow or another, this has to go.
Yeah.
Not this thing that I thought it was, because I'm feeling overwhelmed because I was making it general and vague. I'm starting to isolate things that need to go or that can be handed off that will all of a sudden free up my bandwidth so that I can keep doing the things I like doing that don't frustrate me. But I had to take time to identify what was. So that's a great point, Jake.
So the next opportunity leading into what you just said is to bring somebody on.
Yes.
To take on some of those tasks, which we're actually in the process of doing right now.
We're working on that. Praise Jesus.
Yeah.
Come on.
We're
if
looking
you're listening,
for
we're looking.
an admin assistant, for sure, to take some of those tasks off our plate. There are people in this world who are built for that thing.
They love it. Yeah.
They love it. They thrive on it.
They'll do it better than we do it.
So much better.
Yeah.
And it frees us up to do the thing that we've been called to do. And so the sooner that you can recognize how necessary it is to bring somebody on in that regard, to take some of those tasks away from you, I think you'll find that it really frees up your capacity to handle more without feeling so overwhelmed by it. So let me read this scripture. Matthew 11:28 through 30 says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I think that's something, though, that as believers, we need to remember, that we rest in Christ. And sometimes we forget that and think we need to do it all ourselves.
Yeah, and God is, in the Bible's big on rest and taking rest. Not only resting in Him, because we can tell everybody, surrender it to God, give it to God, but we're people. And so that being in that season of burnout and being like, God, you take this, like, He can do it and He will. But recognizing that He's also, Scripture is big on actual rest and taking time to rest. And oftentimes it comes down to that's the missing piece.
Yeah. One last thing before we wrap this thing up. You had brought to my attention that you need what you defined as a lightning rod. And I want you to talk about that for a second.
Yeah,
before
a
we end
lightning
this.
rod. I am a people pleaser by nature, and I will keep everything in. And it comes from a pressure of not wanting to let anybody down. If I'm working with you, or we're doing something, and we're going to do it together, and it's going to work, I don't want to let anybody down. And sometimes I feel like just sharing my frustration, venting, and just letting it out oftentimes is a sign that I'm letting somebody down or that I don't have what it takes. So for me, I still have that image of venting as a weakness. And it's like, it's a strength if your lightning rod, the person for which you are venting to, is the right person to vent to. Your lightning rod should be a person that will listen to you and will just ground it. It isn't about writing it down and reporting it or sharing it or even affirming you and being like, you're right, this is all. It's just let me talk, let me vent, acknowledge what I'm saying so that I can get it out of my system. I had just heard this on a sermon, basically message, and he was talking about a dead leader running. It was what it was called, great sermon episode. And he was talking about the lightning rod. And so when I watched that sermon episode, I'm like, I wanted to apply some of those things, Jake, and I know you were my lightning rod that morning at the gym, and I felt so much better after that morning. Like I wasn't there yet. I'm still not. I'm still working through some things. But that lightning rod's a big deal. You know, in partnership and in relationship, communication's key. Transparency's key. I think keeping it in builds resent and damages unity. Mm-hmm. It creates division. We think it's fixing it because I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm a man. I'm going to stomach it and I'm going to push through. Yeah. Until the marriage is gone.
Yeah.
Until the partnership dissolves. And you wish you could go back and have just said some things or work through stuff together. You got to do that now.
Right.
So have a lightning rod and share and talk and be transparent.
I would also encourage the person who is that lightning rod to recognize whether this person who needs to vent and talk to you about things on an ongoing basis and just be real with you, are they looking for somebody to solve the problem or just looking for somebody to listen to the problem? Be sure to define which of those two that is and lean into the correct one. Because if you are the person who is constantly solving the problem for the other person who just needs to get it off their chest, it's going to be a problem. And if you're constantly sitting there listening and never coming with solutions, and the person who's bringing the problem needs a solution and wants you to help solve their problem, they're not going to continue to make you their lightning rod.
It's great to just ask that up front. Do you want me to fix it or do you want me to listen?
Fix it or listen.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to listen or want to talk about here before we close this baby up?
The only last thing I thought about bringing up with this whole idea of burnout and where your energy goes. The misconception in here in success and growth and scaling and just trying to continue to push in to what God has for you, people still want to think about balance. They still want to think that you got to balance it. And I get what they're saying, I do. But I think the example we said quite a while back in one of our other episodes was a fulcrum where there's a lever and you're a fulcrum. So you're that point in the middle holding everything up. Maybe you got family and friends on one side, work and business on the other. And you want everything to just you think everything's supposed to just stand still while you're right there in the middle balancing. It doesn't work that way. No. So you have to remember that the fulcrum has to move. You are the fulcrum. Move it where God's going to show you where it needs to be. If your family needs you, he's going to say, you got to be over here right now. Slide over. If your family's good and your business is needing you, you need to slide back over to the business side of things. So just remember that you've got to be able to adjust to where it is needed in the season and recognize that even if it's you right now, my season is I've got to figure out some me time, some recovery, some rest. Well, my fulcrum has to move right now.
Right.
It doesn't have to move forever, but it's got to move right now. So I think that was the last point I really had.
That's really good. So for our listeners, please keep in mind that burnout doesn't disqualify you from the calling. Sometimes it actually clarifies your calling. We hope that you've learned something from this and it's an encouragement to you. I know everybody goes through burnout at some point in their life, and we hope that you can take something from this, apply it to your own situation, and come out on the other side, not having quit everything, but having new resolve, new determination to go get the thing that God has qualified only you to accomplish. We love you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining us today on Courageous Stewards, where legacy meets leadership and faith fuels the journey.
If this episode stirred something in you, share it with someone who's ready to step boldly into their calling.
Subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected as we continue to explore what it means to lead with conviction, serve with excellence, and build with eternity in mind.
So until next time, keep showing up, keep stewarding well, and remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's obedience in motion.